major pitfalls. I don't see people be able to move the needle forward in their life. So the three are hesitation. Second is not wanting to get uncomfortable. And the third one is not sticking to the script. So not sticking to your goal, like moving the goalpost, changing your mind on things. So I'm going to cover all those in just a short amount of time. I just got off a podcast about an hour ago with Mr. Brian Hale, who was my old CEO at Stearns Lending, and he is the CEO and founder of Mortgage Advisory Partners. He consults like the best of the best CEOs, and I was honored to have him on my podcast. Can't wait for all of you to see the podcast episode air. But one of the things we discussed in it was hesitation. Now, there's a difference between like making sure that you educate yourself and you make smart decisions and being thoughtful about decisions that you're going to make. Now, hesitation is just letting that fear set in. Remember, fear is false evidence appearing real. So you want to change that to finally eager and ready. Now, the way I decipher fear is, am I afraid of what other people are going to think? Am I afraid of something that's like a false reality that I'm actually creating? Or is it something that my intuition is telling me, be careful, watch out? Now, fear could also be a sign of caution, like just pay attention and make sure you think it through. But when we hesitate just because we see a shiny object, we think that there's something better out there, we start to say, well, maybe I'm going to buy this house. Maybe I'm going to wait for rates to drop. Maybe I'm going to do this. Maybe I'm just going to find another one in a different neighborhood that's a little bit better, has a better kitchen. And we hesitate and that opportunity is gone. So that's one of the biggest things that I see either in my clients on the mortgage lending side or as a mortgage lending coach. It's that hesitating. So money likes speed. I say it all the time. Money likes speed. Anybody who had analysis paralysis in the past that was waiting for like that 2.5 perfect rate because 2.625 wasn't good enough, look how much you missed out on. Now, there's still time. So when this market turns, and it will, right? It in the future, history shows that real estate has nowhere to go but up. If you look at any 10-year period, 2007 to 2017, people would have been really happy if they were able to hang on to that house. But when that happens again, you want to be ready as a lender. You want to be ready where you've been showing up on social media. You've been sharing your message. You know what communities you're serving, your niches, your brand, your avatar, your pillars, what you want to talk about. And as far as from future homeowner, if you miss the opportunity there, you don't want to hesitate. You want to make sure you're pre-approved. You understand what the plan is. You know what you've narrowed down that purchase price. You kind of have an idea of where your down payment's coming from, or maybe you're not doing a down payment at all. So hesitating on those goals. Eileen Wilder says procrastination will be the assassination of your destination. It is one of the worst things that you can do. And I see it all the time, either with my students or with people that are future homeowners. So the second one is not wanting to be uncomfortable. And there's two sides of this since I do both things. So when we're talking about my students, they know they got to make change. They know that video is so uncomfortable, but it's more comfortable to stay stuck and watching their pipeline, dwindle, or watching them do the same things and building up that guilt and that shame and that call reluctance when they're trying to call a real estate agent. The real estate agent doesn't want to talk to them, doesn't answer the phone, and they've trained their brain to think that that's the only way to get business. They know, and this is why I'm trying to change the industry on knowing the power behind video and sharing a message, right? When you're giving and you're serving, you're giving to the whole. Guess what? Your hands are open. When you give, your hands are in what kind of position? The position to be able to receive. So when you're giving massive impact and information on video, where it's one to many, and it's not that one-to-one kind of like old school mentality that we've been taught, you're in a position where you're able to attract business and not chase it. But how uncomfortable it is to do your first video. Luckily, cannot say I'm perfect at doing video by any means. I have a lot of growing to do in any aspect in my life. I've never arrived. But if you think of, like, when I think back of 5-6 years ago, what it would take for me to just like get on a live randomly in free flow, like I can't even tell you how hard that would have been for me. But it's master repetition. So I had to get really, really uncomfortable in order to get comfortable at that thing. So let me give you another example from the homeowner's perspective. Nothing to do with video. So I owned 8 houses when I was 20 something years old before the crash of 2008. And I was more comfortable letting one of my properties go in Livermore instead of letting go of my 1330. I think my payment was like 1338 a month, 1338 a month for my BMW. I was more comfortable keeping that and letting real estate go. I let it go. I short sold it for like 400 and something thousand. I think it was like 438,000. It's going for over $1 million now. So imagine if I would have drove around a beater car and just got uncomfortable and kept that house and been negative 1338 a month on that property, which was probably, I don't even think I was that. I just told myself I would probably never come back, but I didn't want to let go of that fancy car. So now does it really matter? That car's probably sitting in a junkyard somewhere. I think I actually saw it drive by me like years ago, and I was like, oh my God, there's that car. But anyways, I had to get uncomfortable. So when people say to me, like, Tiff, what if I lose my job and I buy a house? What if you lose your job and you're renting? At least if you lose your job, heaven forbid, and you own a house, you can rent it out. You can go rent a 1-bedroom condo somewhere. Maybe if you have kids, give your kids a master bedroom and you sleep on the couch and have fun with it. Get uncomfortable. But guess what? Now you have somebody else. You still have the tax write-off. Somebody else is paying down your mortgage. And yeah, you have to couch surf for a little while, right? But you still own a home. So if something happens where you lose your house and you have to get uncomfortable, to me, it's a lot more uncomfortable to rent something because you let that fear set in versus actually owning a house and going and moving. And yeah, that's a pain in the butt to move, but chances are you might have to move anyways if you rent, right? So getting uncomfortable is another pitfall that I see. Like it's almost like making excuses that I've done in the past, right? I'm not even speaking to you. I'm speaking for myself. I didn't want to get uncomfortable to move that needle forward. And so therefore I procrastinated, I hesitated, and I missed out. So hopefully that's making sense to you so far. So the third one and the last one is not sticking to the script. So I just talked about this on my podcast, and I talked about it in my official mortgage and mindset training that I just did in my one of my private Facebook groups. There's been so many times where I said, all right, this month I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And I set out on these big plans. And then guess what? I saw something on TV. I listened to a podcast. I read a book, and it sent me off in a different direction. So it's really hard to come up with a goal, take aligned action when you keep moving that around. So it's really important for you to stick to the script. I actually just had, I watched this Bob Proctor video on YouTube, and I watched it 3 times. Every time I watch it, I get more and more out of it. But he keeps his income goal in his pocket, and he touches it. He feels it all the time. And he never forgets about what that income goal. He's done this for like 30 something years, and he pulled it out during the YouTube video. I'll post the link here as well. So if you're interested in watching it, but he never changed the script on what he wanted his income to look like for that year. And he kept it in his pocket. So sometimes I'll say like, I want to close 5 loans. I want to close 10 loans. I want to close 15 loans. If I run this funnel, I'll be able to close 30 loans. Okay, you know what? Maybe I'll tail it back, and I won't do that many things on my lending side. Maybe on my coaching, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend this much in ads. I'm always changing the script. So I have to be really, really careful on not changing the script and not moving what that goal looks like. Otherwise, how are you going to take aligned action on something that's always changing? So this week, I would encourage you to be wildly aware on what did you set out to do Monday? Did you follow through on that task, or did you hesitate? Was it something that maybe these all tie into each other, by the way, if you haven't noticed? Did you set out to do something and maybe you're like, gosh darn it, I'm going to do that this week, but maybe it was a little bit uncomfortable. So you procrastinated, or you completely scratched that idea and tried to find something that's going to help you hit your goals, but something less comfortable. You're never going to be ready. You're never going to be ready. There's never going to be perfect time. You're never going to feel like it. Mel Robbins did a speech, and she talked about you're never going to feel like it. But if you did the things that you never feel like doing, you'd be a multimillionaire. So find fun in the things that you don't feel like doing, because the chances are what you resist persists. So the chances are much more likely that if you're resisting something, it's because it's uncomfortable. So you hesitate. So you change the script on yourself. If you do that thing, the chances are on the other side of that, that's where the gold is. That's where the magic's going to happen. That's what the universe, God, the best version of yourself, angels, higher power, whatever you want to say, that's where that magic is on the other side when you push through that. The things that you hate doing the most is probably the things that where your calling's at. So pay attention to those things. I hope this helped. This is my live for the week. I'm going to try to do these more often. And please feel free to comment on any aha moments, how this helped you. Pay attention and not changing the script, not moving the goalpost, not hesitating. Get ready, aim, and make sure you fire, and make sure you get uncomfortable with something once a day, because what you resist persists. So the other side of that is gold. So again, hopefully I helped you, and I will see you on the next one.